Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So guys, today we're going to be talking about a very important topic related with dehydration. Now guys, there are four common factors that contribute towards dehydration, and because this video is going to be very long, so I'm going to divide this video into two parts. Part 1 and part 2. Now in part 1 we will talk about dehydration, that is much easier to handle, and the part 2 is going to be a slightly complicated type of dehydration. So let's first understand what are the four types of dehydration. Now the first dehydration is a very common one, that's called as transit dehydration. Second dehydration is when you tend to underwater your succulents excessively, or you tend to forget to water your succulent. Third type of dehydration is when the soil is incorrect. Fourth type of dehydration is when there are some problems with the succulent roots. So let's talk about the first type, and that is transit dehydration. Now guys, all of you who have been purchasing succulents online are aware that the sellers will dry the roots of the succulents before sending them out to you. The reason behind that is if there is any water or moisture in the roots, there is a high chance that the succulent might rot in the box. Hence, they tend to dry the roots before sending them out to you. Now guys, if you receive your succulents within 3 to 4 days, they are going to be very healthy. They are going to be well hydrated, plump. There is going to be good stress colors. There won't be any stretching or breaking of the leaves. So now this is where the issue starts. Let's say that the male is stuck in transit for over 12 to 14 days. This is where the issue is going to start. A lot of succulents will start to stretch. There is going to be breakage of leaves. A lot of fragile succulents might not survive, and there are certain succulents that like slightly more watering, or the succulents that have thin leaves are the ones that are going to start getting dehydrated. Now guys, there is something called as water therapy as well, but I usually do not prefer water therapy. I do not recommend or advise water therapy, and you'll get to know in the later part of the video. So let's first understand how we can overcome or how we can fix the transit dehydration. So the first step is we need a pot with drain hole. Now here I have a succulent that is suffering from transit dehydration. Now guys, we need to understand that this is transit dehydration, unlike the other dehydration wherein the succulent tends to open within 24 to 48 hours. But over here it is going to take slightly more time. The reason behind that is, one, the roots are very dry. Secondly, the succulent has come in from a different place. So the succulent has to get adjusted to the new environment. It has to get adjusted to the new soil, the new water, the new climate, the new temperature. So you can see the succulent has to go through a lot of things, as well as it has to hydrate itself. So guys, as of now, I will cover the drain hole, put in my succulent soil mix, the DIY succulent soil mix that I usually tend to use. I will plant the succulent and leave it as it is. I am not going to water the succulent as of now because the succulent is slightly dehydrated. I will probably water the succulent after 2 days, because first and the most important thing, I want the succulent to get adjusted to the new soil. So hence I will give a gap of 2 days. Now guys, remember the succulent will also tend to absorb water from the leaves, that is during their photosynthesis, which is conducted at night. So the dehydration will get reduced slightly because of the photosynthesis that will take place at the night. So during that period of time, the succulent will soak up some water from the environment. So it's been 1 week that I potted this succulent, and I watered after 2 days. So in the time frame of 1 week, I watered this succulent only once, and you can see there has been slight change in the succulent. Now guys, the succulent will not perk up usually how they do within 24 to 48 hours, because over here there was a completely different scenario of dehydration. So again, after a week, I will water the succulent. I will do a complete watering, that is until the water starts leaving the drain hole. Another important thing to understand, this succulent is dehydrated, but at the end of the day it is a succulent. So the rule remains the same. When the soil tends to dry, you will water. Please do not water the dehydrated succulent every day, because remember, it is a succulent. If you are going to water it every day, and if the soil tends to remain wet, there is a high chance that the roots will get rotted. So you have to be extremely careful. You need to have patience. The succulent will open up if the soil is good, if the roots are healthy, and if your watering is on point. The succulent will open up, but it will take some time. So guys, don't be in a hurry. Let the succulent do its own work. Let it open slowly. Do not put in too much of water. Do not do excess watering. You do not want to kill the succulent by overwatering. So now this is how the succulent looks after approximately 4 to 5 weeks. You can see now the succulent looks much more healthy what it looked initially. Now guys, again, remember this depends upon your environment, upon your climate, your temperature. The rate of the succulent recovering from such type of dehydration completely depends upon your environment. It might take more time, it might take less time. For me, it took around 4 to 5 weeks. So here is another example of transit dehydration. You can see the succulent is severely dehydrated. All I did is just put it in the soil. I watered it after 2 to 3 days, and you can see after a week there was a good amount of transformation. Now here, as you can see, this is after 2 to 3 months. Approximately after 2 to 3 months, you can see the succulent has completely recovered. It has even started to grow well. Now, when I was talking about water therapy, now guys, remember water therapy is a quick solution. It is a shortcut, but there are certain disadvantages of water therapy. Now guys, remember, as I said, the succulent needs to get adjusted to your environment and your climate. Now, during this period of time when the succulent is getting adjusted, if you keep moving the succulent in and out of the soil, it is going to affect the succulent more. Now, I'm not very sure whether this will work in the favor of succulent or it might harm the succulent, because I personally do not prefer to do water therapy. Again, I'm not saying that water therapy is bad. For some people it tends to work out. So I would say that there is a 50% chance for a succulent to either recover or for the succulent to completely get destroyed. So I prefer not to take that chance. Even if it's a 50-50 chance, I do not prefer to take the chance. I would rather put my succulent directly in soil, let it get acclimated and adjusted in the new soil, and then go ahead with what happens next. So now that we are completely clear with transit dehydration, let's talk about the simple dehydration, and that is in case if you have forgotten to water your succulent. Now over here, as you can see, these succulents are again severely dehydrated due to excessive underwatering. Never ever underwater your succulent excessively. Remember guys, though underwatering is better than overwatering, but again, if you do it in excess, this also can be harmful, especially if you are from a warm and humid climate. If you put your succulents to this level of dehydration, they will get affected with dry rot. So ensure that you have a proper watering schedule. Do not push your succulent to a limit wherein they get dry rot. Now when you happen to see your succulents are dehydrated like this, so a lot of people say that they tend to mist the succulent soil. Now guys, remember, misting the succulent soil will not help, especially when the succulent soil is completely bone dry. Do not mist your succulent soil, because only the upper layer of soil is going to get wet. The water will not reach up to the roots and the succulent will get further dehydrated. So please do not just mist the succulent soil. When your succulent soil is bone dry, you need to do a complete watering. That is, you need to water the pot until the water starts leaving the drain hole. That's called as complete watering. Please do not mist the soil. That is not going to help. The upper layer of the soil tends to dry much faster. The water on the surface will get evaporated and the succulent will get dehydrated. So ensure that you do a complete watering when the soil is bone dry. Now here is another example of my echeveria that was underwatered. You can see that the leaves are closing inwards. This indicates that the succulent is thirsty and needs water. Now this is a typical sign of dehydration when the leaves tend to curl inwards or when the leaves tend to fold inwards. This indicates that the succulent needs water. So again, over here I will be doing a complete watering, that is until the water starts to leave the drain hole, and you will be able to see the transformation. Now guys, please don't be worried about the water in the bottle. The water is brown because I have dissolved some cinnamon powder. Now because this was a very simple type of dehydration, the dehydration was caused because of underwatering. The roots were healthy, the soil was loose, the succulent was adjusted and adapted in the new environment. So you can see within 24 to 48 hours, the succulent revived back to its original shape. You can see now it is well hydrated. The indication is that the leaves are completely open, which indicates that all the water has been stored back in the leaves. So the leaves are completely open. So this also indicates a lot of people are confused when to water and when not to water. When you see that your succulent leaves are completely open like this indicates that your succulent is well hydrated. So this was about rosette succulents. The indication is that they tend to close their leaves inwards. They tend to get slight wrinkles, and that indicates that the succulent needs water. What about the succulents that do not have a rosette? Like the one that we have over here is Crassula clavatum. They do not have a rosette, but what you can notice is the most important sign of dehydration are the wrinkles. So you can see there are a lot of wrinkles on the succulent. This indicates that the succulent is very thirsty and requires water. Now, if your roots are healthy, if the soil is loose, and if the succulent is healthy overall, within 24 to 48 hours of watering, you will notice that the succulent immediately absorbs the water and stores the water back in the leaves. When this happens, all the wrinkles will disappear, as you can see in this clip. So this was all about dehydration part 1, which is much easier to handle compared to the part 2, which is a slightly complicated part of dehydration, which will be up in the next video. So guys, I hope that this video is helping you so far. If it is, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing it. So guys, until then, take care, stay safe and keep propagating.